Okay, to continue from your previous question, what do you feel is the biggest loss of being a mother and why?
God damn.
Where did we take a L so big?
The biggest loss.
Biggest loss. Damn. Knees, I'm not sneezing.
So the biggest loss, as in like just one.
The,
So the biggest L basically.
the biggest L you ever took.
This one is a bit hard because it's each stage is so different, so things can change. But I personally think the biggest L is the amount of trauma your body goes through.
Oh.
That's what I think. I think from the very beginning, when you give birth, whether it's C-section or natural, the trauma your body goes under and how your body will look afterwards, because it's not going to really look the same, right?
It's never
I will
look
always
the
have a
same.
scar here
Yeah.
and a little kangaroo pouch. Like I've got a small little, it's like a little pocket. It's like a little pouch. It's
So
not that
cute.
noticeable, but I look at it and I'm like, eh. Every time I see it, I can't look at it in the mirror. And
I
it's
see?
still numb, you know that? It's still very much numb, and it's been a year. So it's the fact that I think the biggest loss is your body. You are giving up, you are sacrificing your body to bring life into the world.
I hear it.
It's almost like you've killed yourself and you're rebirthed again to a whole different person.
Just in the same body but shitter.
You reincarnated into a mother
Damn.
with the same body. Do you know what I mean? But it looks a bit
Yeah.
damaged, a little bit secondhand.
I
It went
think
through the worst. Do you know what I mean? But we're still out here. We're still here, surviving.
the worst, the biggest L we
I
take.
think for me that's the biggest L. You know.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. I'm just trying to think of, do I have a bigger L?
Because I don't want to say anything else because things can look different in 5 years.
True.
But I'm going to have this scar for life. Do you know what I mean?
True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
For you, fairs. Okay.
But then I'm a C-section mum, innit? It could be different
yeah,
for me.
I was going to say, I don't have a physical, other than like the crazy amount of stretch marks I have on my stomach. For me, it's more of like a mental thing. Less physical. I'd say the biggest L is having to experience postpartum depression. Not everyone goes through it, but I think for me that's the biggest L, because it's crazy when you go from like never in your life experiencing something like even remotely like depression. Like you go through things in your life, your family members die, like you go through grief, your loved ones, something might happen to them, you go through like you mourn stuff, right? You get heartbroken, you mourn like a relationship or a potential, right? You mourn that. But for me, I had never experienced any form of depression. Like I could never say before I had a kid, or not even the fact that it was just solely her, it wasn't her fault that I had experienced this, but it was a mixture of the environment, hormones, like dysregulation, a mixture of everything, lack of support, lack of village, lack of community, isolation, feeling like you don't belong here. Like it was just a mixture of moving house, like everything in one for me. I think that was the biggest L I ever took. I could actually deal with the fact that my body doesn't look the same. I could deal with that. I could ignore that. But every time
You're
I think
right.
about...
You're right.
So, you know, every time I think about that period of time of my life where I was going through that, it makes me so sad. And it's almost like... Sometimes it makes me cry, but sometimes it doesn't. But it feels like my brain deleted it, like trauma deleted it, like as a trauma response. Like... I can't tell you how bad it was because I forced myself to forget it. Like, it was so bad.
I remember there was a time you told me that, because I know you, Nasra, like you're full of life, you talk a lot, you know, you're very much like charismatic and all of this, that. And I remember there was a time you were telling me that obviously about what happened in Birmingham and stuff, and I don't know if I'm remembering this correctly, but you told me that even your mum noticed that you were like a shell of yourself.
My mum was like, what the hell happened to my kid?
Yeah.
Like, that's the first thing she said. Like, when I told her everything that had happened.
Because I can't even imagine you not being like your crazy self.
Yo, let me tell you something, yeah. I have a friend in Birmingham. Shout outs to Mary. Mary came to visit me one time when Hannah was about 4 months old. First of all, I don't even remember the fact that she came to visit me. If I did not have pictures, I would have completely trauma deleted it with everything else. But she came to visit me. And wallahi, the one thing I remember that I took away from that whole visit was I sat there and I just didn't know what to say. And it was one of them ones where like I genuinely was just silent. Like, it was so awkward, and I love her for not ever making it like feel more awkward. But she was trying to like bring up conversations and talk to me, and I genuinely felt like a shell. I felt like I did not feel like me. I felt like I don't know who, but
Oi, yeah.
that mental toll that it took on me, wow. Like, so bad that I had to trauma delete it. That's the biggest L I took in motherhood.
Oi,
Everything else doesn't compare.
I take back the damn C-section scar. I can't lie. I think the mental health is the worst one. Yeah.
Nothing else compares. Wallahi.
It is.
If I've got a flabby belly for life, oh well.
Oh, listen. Why didn't I not think about the PPD, man?
PPD is such an L, wallahi. And you know what the maddest thing is? When you feel like you're the only one going through it. Like, that's... You can't even... Sometimes you can't even find the words to describe what you're feeling.
Nasra, you literally hit the nail on the head, because I remember, you know when you said that your friend came over and you couldn't even talk?
I was sat there like this.
Literally, same thing happened when my mum and my sister, and I think maybe my brother was with them. They came over to the flat because my mum knew I wasn't really going to come out. So they were like, oh, let's come to you. And my mum was trying to act like, oh, we just stopping by and we just got to order pizza. But really, they wanted to like check on me and see how I was doing. But they didn't want to say that because they know that I'm the type of person to be like, oh, you stop, man. Like, I don't like sympathy. Do you know what I mean? So my mum came on a casual vibe and they were all in the living room, Nasra, and I was sitting on the corner of the sofa, just quiet. Wasn't talking to them. They were entertaining Jenna. They were talking amongst themselves, and they ended up leaving a bit early because they felt like maybe they were too much. And then Samaya had to call me like the next day or maybe like in the evening, and she was like, yo, Hoya's really worried about you. Like, she kept saying, oh, Swee's not okay, she's not talking, blah 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 blah. So like when you said that about your friend coming over and you weren't really talking much.
Yeah.
Well, like, it took me back to...
I feel like she could sense
that. It took me back
that.
to when Jenna was... Yeah, bro.
You know, I feel like crazy. She could sense that because the next time she, like, said, oh, let's go out. Like, it was summer. She was like, let's go out. Let's go for a walk. And she took me for a walk and I barely spoke the whole time. Like, it was so cute. I took some pictures of Hannah. Like, she was in her little pram. She looked so adorable. But, like, I genuinely... You know when you can't find the words... Like, I don't know if I should, I don't know what, even if I wanted to tell you what I was feeling, how do I tell you what I'm feeling? Like, you, almost like you've lost all your brain cells. That's number one. Number two, almost like you're in the room, but you're not really in the room. You've cried so much that you don't even have any tears left. Like, it was sad.
Just crazy. Well, I was the same. I felt speechless. If I could describe that, how it feels, it's like someone's got their hand around your mouth.
Muted.
It was like, who is stopping me from speaking? It almost felt like I was being forced to just be quiet.
Bro, you
like,
weren't silent,
I couldn't talk
you
about
were silent.
I was silenced. Remember that time I was telling you, like, 6 days I didn't speak to Hassan? I think I mentioned it bare times.
There was like a whole week I didn't speak to my ex-husband as well.
Yeah.
Well, there was big chunks of time where I just couldn't even look at him. Like, I remember feeling so, like, not myself and so afraid of, like, the change. Like, again, I think to myself sometimes, if I had experienced depression before, maybe I would understand what I was going through and I'd be able to articulate what I was going through, or maybe I would even be able to know how to find a way out.
Exactly. It was my first time experiencing this thing.
It was my first time as well.
I didn't know what to do.
Wallahi, no one could have prepared me for that.
Bro.
No advice could have prepared me for that. Nothing could have prepared me for that. But you know what? The only thing that brought me joy was my kid. That's the only thing she would make me...
Listen,
I would talk to her and I wouldn't talk to other people.
When I was in the depths of PPD, I used to post reels of Jenna. I used to make her hair beautiful, outfit beautiful. She was my absolute pride and joy.
Aww.
But I was dead inside.
Literally.
I was dead inside, and I made sure my daughter was my little ray of sunshine. The H&M outfits went crazy. Wallahi.
You know why that's so funny but so emotional?
It's so sad.
Because that's literally how I felt. I felt dead inside.
And the maddest thing is, if I go back to pictures of when Jenna was a baby, I hate looking at it. Because I remember, if I look at a picture of Jenna, I will remember that day, how I felt that day. It will just bring me back to everything.
Do you know, can I say, this is so sad to say, but for me, the turning point was when we were homeless and I lived in the hostel. For me, that was the turning point, because I realized like how much I needed people. That's number one. How isolated I was. That's number two. How lonely I was. That's number three. And like, I realized that just being around other people lifted my mood. Sometimes when you're by yourself too much and your partner is at work all the time or for long periods of time and it's just you and this baby, you kind of...
You dwell, you sit in those dark thoughts all day.
You sit in it, you muster in it, like you rot in it. Like
no one's there to snap you out of it.
Nobody's there to even just, hey, are you hungry? How many times did I forget to eat for days? For me, the turning point was when we hit the hostel, because a part of me was like I didn't realize that I was masking, but I also felt like I had to mask around people so they wouldn't see how much I was struggling, because there was a deep fear in my heart that somebody would take my kid away from me. That a deep fear. And I was thinking, oh, this is sad to say. I literally was thinking, if somebody sees how much I'm struggling and they take my kid away, that would be like the 13th reason for me. Like completely the 13th reason.
Nasra, man. I think that's what it is. Well, I genuinely think that's why people don't talk about their struggles.
That's why people don't talk about it.
They're afraid that people are going to look at them and be like, she's not fit to be a mum.
She's not fit, yeah. When really, she was the only thing
that was keeping this baby alive.
That was keeping me alive.
She was keeping you alive and you were keeping her alive. Do you know what I mean?
She's the only thing that was keeping me going, wallahi. The only thing.
Oh.
Everything else was a mess. It was her and ranting to Hannah. That was it. You know, it was sad because it was during COVID times and like my mum, she's all the way in London and my mum is a warrior. Like she's, you know, those parents that worry. Like she's a warrior. So I'm her only child. Of course I was pretending like everything was great. Of course I was pretending like I was fine. Of course I was like avoiding phone calls with her because I was afraid that I'd break down. Like I was afraid that I would want to tell her what I was going through if she saw me on FaceTime and said, what's the matter with you? Why do you look like that? I would end all the FaceTime calls and call her normally, or I would end all the FaceTime calls and send a voice note and I'd be like, hey Hoya, how are you? Are you okay? Like, yeah, I'm good. Everything's good. And then I'd stop the voice note and I'd be like, oh my God, everything's so bad. Everything's so bad. Oh, yeah, that was a turning point for me, man. After that, everything got better. And then, sorry to say, after I got divorced, everything went whew, to the moon. Mental health improved. Everything improved. Like, alhamdulillah, everything was great after that.
Damn,
yeah.
Nasra. Bless you.
Was I silent or was I silenced?
I've got some tissues.
No, I'm okay. I'm okay. Saucy spills.
No, wallahi, Nasra.
Oh,
I really feel like
that was a
everything you said sounded very familiar, wallahi. I remember there were times where, and my mum's obsessed with the FaceTime, you know. All she does is call me on FaceTime. Hoya, shout out to you, but sometimes I'm like, Hoya, is it every day FaceTime? but she just wants to see these kids. She don't want to see me.
But
she
you
just
know, if
wanna
she
see
looks
these
at your
kids.
face and she sees, she can tell there's something wrong.
Yeah, 100%. There were times I used to air my mum's
Bro.
calls because I wasn't feeling it. Because I know that, like, oh yeah, here's another real one. Hey. So during this whole PPD thing, Nasra, this was before Jenna was able to like walk.
Yeah.
She couldn't even crawl at this point. She was so small. She was at that stage where they just sit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just sit and they just play with stuff.
They just sit and just shout for things.
I had everything I needed right next to me on the bedside table.
Yeah.
Her milk warmer, her formula, everything's there. I've got her nappies and her wipes around me. I've got a couple snacks. Only time I need to leave this room and this bed is if I need to go to the toilet. So there were times, Nasra, I can't lie to you, I stayed in that bed from morning until night. I would watch things in that bed. I would eat in that bed. I would take naps in that bed. I would feed Jenna in that bed. I would change her nappies in that bed. We would live on that bed.
Bro.
So here's when I realized that this is not okay. Whenever my mum called me, let's say she called me in the morning and she sees that I'm in bed on FaceTime, that's calm. But if she calls me again around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock and I'm still in that bed, looking the exact same, she would have just bugged out a little bit to say, are you still in that bed? It's weird. Come on, get up, do this. Or maybe she would have felt a bit worried.
Yeah.
That's why I used to avoid her calls sometimes. Sometimes when I see my mum calling on FaceTime, I used to get up, go to the living room, or, fix my hair a little bit, act like I'm a bit busy, act like I've been doing things all day.
Yeah.
Because I don't want her to feel like I was just sitting on that bed all day, which was the case.
When really all you wanted to do was just sit in bed all day.
Nasra, I used to live on that bed.
Bro, I hear it. I completely hear it.
I used to live on that bed. Hassan would come home and I'm still in the same bed, same position.
Bro, if I felt so much shame, like, surrounding that period of time as well, when you're going through it and you're deep in the trenches.
Bruh.
And sometimes you don't even change your clothes for like 3-4 days. Sometimes you don't even shower. Sometimes you don't even brush your teeth. Like, sometimes you don't. Like, at one point, I remember I went to the hairdressers and my hair was matted. And I remember feeling so shame of just being there and having to explain to this woman, I've just had a baby. Like, I almost wanted her to cut me some slack. But then I realized at the same time, like, I don't really think she gives a shit. Like, she had to run my hair under hot water to untangle it. Like, it was like this. It was matted. Like, it was bad. And that's when I was like, oh, rah. Like, I don't have the energy to do everything twice. I have the energy to do it once, so I'm going to do it for my kid. She looked spectacular, model quality. She looked like a poster baby. She looked like she could be on an advert for H&M.
Yeah, bruh.
Genuinely. She looked so good. But me, if you would have looked at the mum behind the camera, scary scenes, bro. Scary scenes. That's why I say when I moved and I lived in the hostel and we were homeless, it was a turnaround point for me, because then I could be like, hey, do you mind holding my kid for like 20 minutes while I go and shower? Hey, do you mind like looking after my kid while I go get some food? Like, hey, my kid's crying. Do you mind just holding her for 1 minute while I go run get her bottle? Like, wash her bottle out. I felt like I had community and people. And then I left the hostel and it was back again. Astaghfirullah for saying this, back to the same bullshit. Like, back to being by myself, back to having no support, back to having nothing. And I remember saying, not knowing what it was like to not have the community is easier than knowing what I had just had and not having it anymore. Okay. Like, that was worse for me. That messed with my mental health even more. Like, then I was like, yo, I don't know if Birmingham is for me, man. Then then that made me want to try harder in the marriage. That made me want to try harder to make him my support system. But you can't make someone be something that they don't want to be. You can't force someone to do something for you that they don't want to do. Yeah. So I tried harder. And when that avenue didn't work, I tried to say to him, can you introduce me to your friends' wives? Can I be a part of like something? Like, I just wanted to be a part of something. And he was like, no, my friends are my friends, my family are my family. Like, I don't mix the two. And I genuinely thought that was the most unreasonable thing he ever said. Like, I genuinely thought, you want me to be by myself? You must hate me. That's the thought that I had in that moment. Because if he
You're not trying to be friends with his boys.
If he knew...
His boys were married and they had wives. connect the wives together.
Bro, I suggested so many times, can we do double dates? Can we go out? Like, and he was like, my friends are not like that. My friends don't do that. My friends are not like that. I don't mix friends and family. Like, there was an excuse after an excuse after an excuse after an excuse. And then I thought to myself, you just want me to be by myself. And I remember thinking that, and I remember feeling like, whoa, is this? Then I, you know, when you have like realization and realization of realization all at the same time, and I was like, whoa, is this gonna be my life for the rest of my life? And I started to think, can I see myself living here for the rest of my life by myself? Can I see myself depending on this person who doesn't want to be depended on? Can I see myself raising this kid in a house where I am miserable? That's when all the questions started coming. And I was like, yo, I need to speak to somebody because my mental health is in the gut. Let me talk to somebody. Then I went for therapy and it was really good. Life-changing. Wallahi.
I tried therapy, Nasra, and it didn't bang for me. And I think I gave up too soon.
Yeah.
Because you know how there's people that say, you know what, like if you're not really vibing with this particular therapist, you can just find another one. Yeah. But I was like, therapy is not for me. And I just kind of left it. I threw the whole therapy away. Damn. Yeah.
It's almost iftar time.
Is it? How long left?
I have like 4 minutes.
Let's prepare it.
Yeah? Let's go. Nah, man. Honestly, postpartum is the worst thing I've ever experienced. So we are. Like, that was worse than giving birth. That was worse than...
I'm not capping.
I'm not going to lie. Divorce for me was a party. No word of a lie. I was gassed when I got divorced. I was very happy about it. And that's quite sad to say sometimes, but I was in a very, very sad place, and I realized I needed to focus on me, and I need to put some energy back and love into me from where it was lacking in that situation. Postpartum, worst thing I've ever experienced in my life. I never want to experience that again. If I never have any more kids, I'll be happy because I know there's no chance of me experiencing that again. Oops.
Bloody.
5-second rule.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you, Nasra. Postpartum,
worst thing I've ever experienced. Wallahi.
Genuinely.
It's so sad. I don't even feel like I'm over it. Like, I don't feel like I've gotten over it. Like, as in, you know, when you work through something and you feel like, okay, like I'm over it in a sense that I'm not in it anymore and I'm done with it. But like, how sad it still makes me to think about it. I don't think I've processed it fully, basically. I think I just shut it off and I like trauma deleted and then didn't look back at it. The next time I looked back at it was with you. And that's why we spent 3 hours and I was crying half the time.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm crying now. No, postpartum was the worst thing I've ever experienced.
Do you know what's so beautiful about this though? You know how you said that you were really seeking community?
Yeah.
And you wanted to be around people. You're the one that put Mum Club together. So you met me. You already had Hannah in your back pocket. You already knew Zainab, right?
No, I didn't really know Zainab actually.
No, but did you meet me before Zainab?
I met you before Zainab.
Swear?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you already had Hannah, and then you met me because we were dealing with this podcast.
Yeah.
And then you met Zainab all separately. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you? Was it given X Factor? You know when they put like bands together, when they say Little Mix,
okay,
this person goes very well together. Is that what was that your thought process? Were you thinking
no,
these three would go together?
I didn't see it like that at all.
Really?
So when I introduced everyone initially to each other, why am I still emotional? Oh my god. Okay, I need to stop.
She was giving Simon Cowell. It was giving Louis Walsh.
You know
making
what?
the band.
You know what it was? Hannah's my... Oh, there we go. It's in 1 minute. Hannah, and I say this all the time, Hannah's my soulmate. Like, soulmates can come in different forms. And Hannah is my soulmate. Like, she's one of my soulmates in life. And having her, we both were like, wow, we are each other's soulmate. But it can't be just us. We always wanted more people. And then when I met you, I thought, wow, like I want to know Suia and who she is and how she is. Really? And I want to like get to know her properly. And then like obviously with the story with Zainab, like I had known her husband and his family from when I was a child. So I already felt like I knew him. But the day that I spent with you doing the interview, I thought, Sawia is such a cool person. Like I left there with the most positive image of you
No
ever. Like I
way.
left there thinking the world of you. Oh,
We ate some good food as well. I swear I remember we had like 3 different desserts that we were trying. I think there was a milk cake. I think I had like a cheesecake or something. I can't remember.
you had a waffle.
We had a waffle. Yeah, waffle.
You
I
had a
think I
waffle.
had a
I
chai
had a milk
tea
cake.
and a mocktail. I think I had a mocktail and
We
a chai
both
tea.
got a dessert each, and then we got the milk cake to try and share.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
After that, I remember we were walking back to the station, and I was chatting to you like I knew you for years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was nice.
So me, I went with vibes. Like Hannah was always going to be part of it. That's my soulmate. So I went with vibes. I said, wow, Sawia, like getting to know her has been like, I'm starting to get to know her. And I was like, I love that. I love who she is and I want to be around her more often. But obviously you live really far away. And then it just so happened that then I went out with Zainab on a day out, and me and her. And wallahi, it's so weird to say this, but I know in the barzakh that me and you lot were all very close. In the realm of souls, we were all very close to each other. Because when I met Zainab, instantly, like instant, it was an instant connection. Like we were talking about deep things that people talk about like a year into their friendship or 2 years into their friendship or 6 months into their friendship on the first day that we met. Like it wasn't like an oversharing type of situation either. It was like we needed each other in those moments, and it was so beautiful.
Zainab, I love that girl with all my heart.
Me as well. Zainab and Hannah, man.
Petition to get Zainab back on the pod in front of the camera this time.
Petition to get Zainab back. Oh.
She was the one that was on the, you know, the mum club, mum trivia episodes.
Yeah,
she was the one.
she was the hand.
She was the hand. Shout out to Zainab.
Oh,
Man.
I love them. I love them so much. Oh wait, it's my turn. My turn to ask you a question.
What was the question? The biggest L.
Yeah. Oh, is
No,
that me?
No. There was another question that we did just now. You can't be the biggest L.
It was the biggest L.
No way, because we really went into.
We went into postpartum depression.
We really went into it.
So it's your turn now.
But to wrap things up though, PPD. I genuinely think I buried that. That's why I didn't mention it. But you really made me remember certain things, Nasra. I can't lie to you.
That is not for the weak, honestly.
Oi.
That is not for the weak, what I experienced and what you experienced. That's not for the weak. And you know, if you ask me, Sawia, how did you get out of it? I genuinely couldn't tell you.
I can't tell you either.
If I ever experienced it again, I don't know how I would get out of it again.
Well, I can't tell you, but genuinely it felt like after Jenna turned 2, I felt better. It's the 2-year mark for me. That's when I felt more adjusted. And then when Jenna was 2.5, I got pregnant again with Adam.
Yeah.
It felt like I was going back to square one. But alhamdulillah, you know what? This time, Nasra, it didn't touch me.
Bro, by Hannah touching 2, I was already divorced.
Bruh.
Before she even turned 2. I said, good riddance. But shout outs to you, good dad. Shout outs to you.
No, shout out to you, man.
You know how I know he's an excellent father? Every time I ask Hannah who's your favourite person, she'll say in London or in Birmingham, and I'll say in Birmingham, and then she'll say dad. Like out of everyone there, her dad is her favourite.
Yeah.
That's how I know you're a good dad.
And that's how you know he actually spends time with her as well.
Uh-huh.
Certain men are out here and they just leave the kid with his mum, you know?
Bruh.
They're not really doing much.
Mate.
What's the greatest lesson your mother taught you?
Yo, my mum. Shout out to her, bruv. My mum taught me resilience. She taught me resilience. Through all the stuff that she's been through in her life, she's taught me that, like your friend Samira, you just say Alhamdulillah and you keep it moving. That's why I remember when you said, oh, the way that you handle things, last time we said the way that I handle things is admirable.
That's definitely you.
Wallahi, I learned it from my mum. My mum's that person. People, like, they do things to her, like, they'll do her over. You pass me the lip gloss. Yeah. They'll do her over, or, like, they'll hurt her, and she'll just say, she'll be like, it's all right. She'll be like, I forgive them for the sake of Allah. And I'm like, rah, okay. raised me by herself in a country that she had never been to in her life, and did it to the best of her ability. Worked hard. She didn't sit at home. She worked hard. She worked the whole time I was a kid, just so she could be able to afford things to do for me. She taught me resilience, what it means to be a strong woman. She taught me, like, when enough is enough. And I think that is one of the main reasons why I was able to say goodbye to that marriage. If I had not had, like, the experience of my mum being like, enough is enough, sometimes you have to know when is enough, and seeing how she deals with situations, I would probably have stayed and been really miserable in, like, you know, the whole let me make it work marriage, you know, oh, let me keep my household. Sometimes keeping the household is more toxic than just saying deuces, ma salama.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll be better off if you just said goodbye. There's one thing about me as well, that I never want to live my life, Suya, and think, why didn't I leave sooner? Like, don't get me wrong, I think that now. But at the same time, I can pat myself on the back and say, well done, you still left very quite early. A year and a half, 18 months.
Is enough. Yeah, you left straight away. Some people are still sitting there.
Bro, I know, but wait, a year and a half into my kid's life. It was like 2 years and a bit into the marriage. I could still pat myself on the back and say, well done. If I could, in hindsight, go back in time, I would have left when I was pregnant. I would have left when I fell down the stairs. That's when I would have left. Yeah. By the way, yeah, I don't think we spoke about that. Maybe this is a good time to talk about that.
That's why I made that face, to be like, did you just hear what you said, girl?
But I think I've said it on here before, that I fell down the stairs when I was 4 months pregnant.
Yeah, but you didn't get into it.
But I didn't get into it. So, bearing in mind, this is a long time ago now at this point. But from what I remember of what happened, recently I had a conversation with him about it, and he gave me his perspective on what he remembered. So this is what my version of events is. What I remember was, we had a really steep set of stairs. It was literally like this, and I was round the corner to City Hospital in Birmingham. That's where we lived. Literally around the corner, like walking distance. And there was a shop 2 minutes away, right? 2 minutes walk on a normal day. I had fallen down the stairs, right, on one of the nights when I was 4 months pregnant, and I was traumatized from going up those stairs. So I just used to sleep in the living room. That's where I slept after that, like, for the duration of the time I was there. And after I'd fallen down the stairs, obviously I was really bruised down my back. I just slipped and I just went boop, 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 boop down the stairs backwards. So my bump was out. I was 4 months, but you could see my bump. Like, apparently I have big bumps. I don't know. Alolwyn? Who knows? I don't know. But I was afraid for her life, because falling down the stairs is something really scary, especially being a first-time mum and not knowing, like, whether this is going to affect my kid. Is it going to affect her?
You don't know, yeah.
Is it going to affect her brain? Is it going to affect her body? Is it going to affect me? Is it going to affect how I birth her? Like, there's so many things just that run through your mind to consider.
Yeah.
You start panicking. Like, you really start panicking. So I panicked, and I of course I went to the hospital. We went to the hospital, and I didn't I remember this part. We went to the hospital the same day, and then the next morning I remember that they were like, "You're fine. It was just a small fall." But I was bruised and I was hurt. So I went to sleep, and I think the next day I had like the worst contraction, like Braxton Hicks, that was so bad. Like, I couldn't sleep all night. It was that bad. I genuinely thought, I was timing them. I genuinely thought I was going into labor. Like, it was that bad. I was afraid, like, 4 months in, I'm going to lose this kid. Like, who survives 4 months in? Like, that's what I was thinking.
And having a pain like that is not really...
Not normal. Not normal. Like, as in, it was, like, almost 12 hours long that I was experiencing that. So, I've now stayed awake all night. He's upstairs in bed. I'm downstairs on the living room sofa. All night, I was awake. 7 o'clock in the morning, I get there and I'm like dying at 7 o'clock in the morning. And I think it was about 6:45 actually. He comes down and he goes to the kitchen to get himself a drink. And I said to him, he looked in the living room because it was like so close to each other. And I was awake and I was just got like this, just like I was exhausted but in so much pain. And I said to him, he's like, "You're awake?" I was like, "I've been awake all night." That's the first thing I said. I remember. I was like, "I've been awake all night. I'm in so much pain." I spoke to the midwife. By the way, I called the midwife in the middle of the night because I was like, do I have to walk to the hospital now? Do I have to come to the hospital? Do I have to wake up my husband to come to the hospital? Because I don't know what this is and I feel very, very afraid. And so she was like, you know what? Just monitor it a little bit. If the contractions, if the Braxton Hicks or whatever get very, very close together, then call us back. Or, you know, also take some paracetamol because just to see if the pain goes away after you have paracetamol. I said, all right, cool. So I started rummaging around the kitchen for paracetamol. No paracetamol. Realized I didn't have anything. So he comes down the stairs like almost 7 o'clock in the morning. And I said to him, "I've been awake all night." And he's like, "Why?" I said, "I'm in so much pain. Like I can't explain how much pain I'm in. It's so bad." And he was like, "Oh." And I was like, "I need you to go to the shop and get me paracetamol because I don't have any. I don't take paracetamol. I never have. I'm just not that person. I'd rather suffer through the pain." So like period pains and all that, I never pop pills for that because I thought, what's the point? I don't want to depend on it, right? So I didn't have any. So he literally looked at me and he was like, "Well, I've got work later." He was like, "It's 7 o'clock in the morning." He's like, "I've got to be at work at 2. I'm going to wake up at like 1. No, he's like, I'll wake up at around, he said around 9:10. And I'll go then. He was like, "I'll go then." And you know, me, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Well, like, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was like this. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It only hit me when he walked up the stairs and went back to bed. That's when it hit me that like, did this guy actually just go back to sleep? He went back to bed. So whenever I say I feel like he hated me, you lot is not like an exaggeration. Genuinely, I actually deep that this guy actually hated me in that time.
What did he say about that moment? Because you said that you spoke about it. Because I don't understand what kind of excuse you would have for that.
Okay, so he reminded me of something. He said to me, "Wallahi," he literally said, "Wallahi, Nasra, if I remembered it, I would tell you that I remember it. But wallahi, I don't remember that." That's what he said. He goes, "I don't remember that." But he goes, "After you fell down the stairs," he goes, "you were pissed at me for a long time because I was the reason why you fell down the stairs." And I said, "Oh, I don't remember that. Tell me more." And he explained that because I couldn't walk up the stairs all the time and I was afraid that I was going to fall down the stairs. It was like subtle foreshadowing. I had already put it in my brain that I was going to fall down these stairs, right? And so I bought a commode. Like, you know, like old people have. I bought a commode. My kitchen sink had 2 sinks. I used one of them to pour the contents of the number one down that part of the sink, and the other part of the sink I used for the dishes, right? So I bought a commode that lived in the kitchen, and I had been begging him for the last 4 or 5 days that I had bought it, or week, or however long it was sat there, to open the box and to put it together, because I really thought it had like single bits, not knowing that if you open the box it was just folded. All you had to do was click it into place. That was it. I could have done it myself, but I didn't know that. I was depending on him to open the box because I was so exhausted for him to do it, and he hadn't done it in like 4 or 5 days. So I had needed to go to the toilet upstairs because he hadn't done that job. And so that's how I fell down the stairs. And he was like, "I remember you were pissed at me for a long time because of that." I said to him, "I don't know what part of that I trauma deleted, but I don't remember that part. But then now that you're reminding me, it makes so much sense, right?" And he goes, "I didn't remember what happened after that because I have distinct memories of you being angry at me." So in his brain, he only remembered the times that I was angry at him. He didn't remember the rest of the times. He remembered all the instances that I had communicated that I was angry at him. But he said to me, "You never talked to me about it. You never said that you were angry about that. Like about the whole like Braxton Hicks thing and me going back upstairs." So, sorry, I need a drink. You know what, actually, I'll have some of this.
Can't lie to you, Nasra.
Wait. So imagine after that,
He's not going to have a bed to sleep on. What do you mean going back upstairs? The
Bro.
bed is no longer there.
Bruh. What had then happened was that I put my shoes on and I went to the shop because I could not bear the thought of waiting another 3 or 4 hours or however long he was going to take in this pain that I had been experiencing all night. So,
listen.
wallahi, I was just so angry.
He was prioritizing his sleep over his pregnant wife who was
Bro,
in pain.
Let me tell you something. I was so angry. I think it was the anger that I was feeling, the fire that my body was in of anger that drove me to stand up, put my shoes on, put my jacket on and go to the shop. And wallahi, the shop, like I said, was 2 minutes away. 2 minutes walk. It took me 45 minutes to walk there because I would take one step and I'll stop for 5 minutes. I'll take 2 steps, I'll stop for 5 minutes because of the pain that I was experiencing. And it literally felt like labor contractions. Bro, I got to the shop, and the shopkeeper was like, oh my God, are you all right? Like, gave me a chair. He gave me beer. He gave me water. I said to him, I need paracetamol. He gave me the paracetamol. I popped the paracetamols, 2 paracetamols. I popped it before I'd even paid for anything, right? And the shopkeeper was like, are you all right? Is everything okay? And in that moment, I was this close to tears because I was thinking to myself, you have shown me more compassion than the person who's married to me.
Oh.
Right? And
yeah, I would have been out the door, bro.
Bro,
hey.
I don't even know why I stayed. Well, I can't lie to you. But
I think that for me would be the end.
I walked back home.
I cannot lie.
You know, the paracetamol didn't kick in for like another hour. It didn't kick in for another hour. I walked 45 minutes back home. Like, by the time I had stepped foot in the door, wallahi, I can't even explain the exhaustion. I hadn't slept all night. I was in pain all night. And I have just done 45 minutes walk back, an hour and a half, just to get paracetamol. When I walked through the door and I had sat down like this, I hear him coming down the stairs. I was thinking, oh my God, not him. He came down the stairs. He's like, I'm going to go to the shop now. I said to him, you don't need to go to the shop. I've already been to the shop. But I was so, you know, in that moment, if I didn't cuss him and his entire lineage out, wallahi, Allah has given me rewards for that. Because in that moment,
the way you controlled your anger,
the way I controlled my anger.
Oh my God.
Genuinely, something happened to him after that. Like, Amrki Ilahi. I genuinely believe in my heart that something bad happened to him after because of that. Wallahi. And I say it all the time. I low-key encouraged him. Low-key. without even intending to. Genuinely.
No, that's...
I habared him without even intending to.
Anyone would. The hate I would have if my husband did that.
Bro, I don't think I ever talked to him about it because I was just so angry about it. I couldn't bring myself to talk about it. If I talked about it, I would have left him. Wallahi. That's what I was thinking. I said, if I speak to him about this and he makes an excuse or he says, but I have work. If he turns around and said anything like that, I would have said, divorce me right now. So I didn't want to do that because I felt I'm 4 months pregnant. How am I going to do this by myself? I want my kid to, I want her to have something I didn't have by having her dad in her life. That was strike one. Strike one, I should have left that strike one. Wallahi.
The fact that was just strike one is crazy to me.
Brother, that was strike one. I should have left that strike one. In hindsight, if I go back time machine.
Because the way I see it is, if in that moment you can even help me. If anything else happens to me, you're not going to give a shit.
Hey, it's curtains for me, bruv.
Yeah. If you can't even show me compassion right now, not even that. She's also growing your child. Do you even not have love for your child even? At least. Are you not at least concerned for the child?
Bro. So I told this story to Adi, right? To Adi Wahab, who's our previous guest. If you haven't watched the video, go back and watch the video. I told this story to Adi. He called me one time and he asked me a question of like, oh, what is something that, like, a piece of advice that you could, a question. He was formulating the questions for his book. And he asked me, do you have a question from your experience? And I said to him, what is something that your partner could do that would make you look at them differently, like forever differently? And then I told him that story and he was gobbed. He was gagged. Adi was gagged when I told him that story. He was literally gagged. He couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe his ears. So he made that as one of the questions in the book. You can find it in the book. Well, that's really sad, man. You know, thinking about that situation doesn't make me as emotional, because you can see I didn't cry. Doesn't make me as emotional as thinking about postpartum as a whole. Because postpartum, I think that was the start of my postpartum.
Yeah, of course. It started during pregnancy.
It started
man.
during that incident in the pregnancy, because from that day that had happened, nothing was the same after that. Nothing. Not the way I looked at you, not the way that I trusted you, not the way that everything in a marriage for me changed in that day.
Of course, man.
Completely. So postpartum, I think, started then. Because I was legit miserable throughout the rest of the pregnancy. Because how do you continue having a pregnancy knowing that, like you were saying, if you can do that to me when I'm pregnant, what can you do when I'm not pregnant? But in my head, it was more like that set the tone for us bringing life into the world.
Yeah.
So when I see videos online of like people like showing their partners revealing that they're pregnant and their partners being so overjoyed, the day that I told him I was pregnant, he sat there and looked at this pregnancy test like this. There wasn't like a, oh my God, there wasn't like a, yes, I'm going to be a there was nothing. It was like, oh, you're pregnant.
Swear down.
Wallahi. I should have known then. But it was already too late. I was already pregnant. It was too
But
late.
I don't get
It's too
it.
late.
You were
What can I
married
do?
a month.
And you know what the worst thing is? We
You were
talked
only
about having
married-
kids.
yeah.
We talked about having kids. And I spoke to him about it and I said, listen, one thing I've always wanted to do in my life is be a mum. And I know I'll be sick at it. This is the one thing that I've wanted for since I was 10 years old. I've always wanted to be a mum. How soon do you think is okay for you? And he said to me, oh, I'm not going to lie, the sooner the better. He was like, I'm happy whenever you're happy. The sooner the better. And I said, bet. A month later, I was pregnant. But yeah. This rice slaps.
I think the reason why you didn't get upset with this is because with this situation, you got yourself out of it. Do you get it? Like, it's something you took yourself out of.
Oh, I had control
Whereas
over that, yeah.
PPD controls you. Like,
100%.
yeah, you feel like a hostage.
That's why I say I almost threw a party. Oh, when I got divorced.
Yeah.
I almost threw a party, bro. I was gassed.
And the scariest thing about PPD is, luckily for me, I was able to get out of it. But some people are in it for years, man.
Uh-huh.
Years and years and years. Like, up until the kids are like 7, 8 years old. It's not a joke.
I'm
man.
so glad it didn't happen to you a second time.
Hey,
I'm so glad.
the way I had to train my mind, Nasra, I started prepping my mind while I was pregnant.
Oh.
I was like, it's not gonna happen to me. It's not
But
gonna
also
happen
the
to me again.
community element of it, feeling like, you know, you have safe people, feeling like you can talk about your feelings, like it's okay. Entry-level mums, everything played into it. Everything has its role in the fact that you didn't have postpartum the second time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the fact that my C-section, the recovery was so much better, I think
Yeah.
that also kind of lifted my spirits straight from the beginning. Because the
Alhamdulillah.
first time round, hey,
Oh my God, the emergencies are very, very, wallahi,
I was in agony. But
detrimental to your mental health.
I just want to play one thing before we wrap up.
Please play it.
Breaking news, guys.
We've been a buzz in the studio all morning because we hear you have a very exciting announcement.
That's right, I do. So, I'm very excited to tell you all that
Mummy, they're showing you on TV. Come and see.
Is that Peppa Pig?
Hello, Peppa. Good morning.
Yeah.
Are you on TV right now?
Yes, darling, I am.
Good morning.
Peppa
She's
is
on-
as jarring as my kid, bro.
That's Peppa's mum. She's on Good Morning Britain. Yeah, listen.
Well, I'm excited to share that our family is getting even bigger because we're having another baby. I'm due in the summer and we're all so excited.
Summer 2025. Peppa Pig's getting a.
I wonder what they're going to call it.
No, but to think that, yo, that family's already jarring, and they're gonna have another edition.
Peppa, George, and... I wonder if it's a boy or a girl.
that was a TikTok, yeah. I went through the comments. What's Peppa Pig's friend called? There's Pedro,
Susie
innit?
Sheep.
There's a Pedro one.
Pedro what?
Was it Pedro the goat or something
I
like
don't
that?
know.
Someone changed.
Don't.
Someone changed.
Don't. I feel like I know what you're gonna
Someone
say.
changed their name to Pedro the goat and changed their picture to Pedro. I was like, I'm finally gonna be. They said I'm finally gonna be a dad. And I was like, aren't you Peppa's friend?
What is Peppa's mum doing, bro? Mummy Pig is moving mad.
Hey, listen. No, that killed me, man. But we have to wrap up, man. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Nasra, thank you for showing your vulnerabilities, man.
Bruh.
Honestly, thank you for digging deep. Getting deep with it.
Skin deep. Sponsor us.
Honestly, man, sponsor us, man.
Bruh.
Follow us on Instagram, guys. We have an
Yeah.
event coming up. Follow us on Instagram to find out more about this event if you want to come and you're based in
Absolutely.
London. But thank you, guys. We gotta go.
Bye.